This is better, sir. Thank you. Anilji, mic is yours.
Friends, this is in a way continuation of the previous panel discussion in many ways, and we have much less time for this one. Just about 35 minutes to capture the whole essence of the Imec and I2U2 and beyond. Beyond is the word that is very important. There are several initiatives that come, they get going, then new initiatives come, and then one tends to forget about these ongoing initiatives. So we'll have to somehow see that since they are plugging into one another in one way or the other, it's very important that we see that how they are harnessed for the maximum synergy among all the participating countries and for the rest of the world, as we have been discussing in the since morning. So we have an excellent group here. Let me speak to first from our friend from Ahmedabad, Ashwani Gupta. Can you hear me, Ashwani?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Because this is, they are nearly everywhere now, trying to go. And before I come back to you, then this is the port business that we are talking about. So, Ashwani, can you please tell us about exactly how do you look at your prospects in the region and beyond, as far as your domain expertise is concerned? Of course, it's very vast, but let's hear from you. How do you look at the region and how do you wish to proceed further, and what are the kind of challenges that you face, and especially with regard to I2U2 and Imec, if you're involved there?
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity and good afternoon, everyone. I think, of course, I would like to start with that maritime contributes significantly in the global trade, considering that it is a great opportunity to improve the global trade, which contributes to the world economy. We have a very special focus, and we should have a very special focus on it. Obviously, we want to start with India. In India, we are growing more than double digit, and the capacity that we double almost every 5 years because it is in line with the domestic growth, which is ranging between 7 to 8.5%. Having said that, having the growth only in India, for India, is having its own opportunities and the limitations, which means that there, it's not only about a nation's trade, it's about region's trade and finally the global trade. That's why all the countries have to contribute to maximize the potential which exists in the regional trade. And here, Imec is going to play a very important role. Why? Because A, it is going to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness with access to the equal opportunities for all the players, whether they are shipping lines, whether they are port operators, whether they are commodity custodians, they will get the equal opportunities. B, it will help in the trade for the commodities which are high value and time sensitive, because here we are talking about speed and the reliability. And with this auto trade, definitely it will contribute to the global trade growth. Now, that is only our trade. But on the other side, one of the important objectives of having Imec is also towards green energy transition, because that will also help in the development of energy hubs. So we are taking it on one side as more efficient and effective trade. On the other side, how we develop the green energy hubs, whether it is green hydrogen, whether it is solar, whether it is wind or wind, and putting together transport and logistics and the energy hub is going to contribute. Now, the challenges which we look at, let me say there are 4 things, and I would say that every challenge is an opportunity. I think the first think the key success factor is the political alignment. The second key success factor is policy framework, which again access to opportunities to equally to all, but also talking about very harmonious custom process, all the processes which are needed across the borders. The third one, I would say, to fulfill the policy framework, we definitely need to have a technology platform. We can call it common technology platform. We can call it the digital platform. But we need that all the borders should be connected not only by the physical process but also by the digital process. And last but not least, we do need a business case which should be driven by opportunity realization. Whether it is A community or B community or C community, whether it is a to and fro utilization of the cargo vessel. So I think these are the four
Thank you.
success factors which I believe should help in making us believe in the environment.
Thank you. Mr. Hashmi, now you have heard several of his challenges that he mentioned. Now, how would you like to address some of those? Because in your domain as well, DP World would have faced those challenges. You are very famous all over the world. How to overcome them, and how do you see the new technologies like the digital one helping you, and what are the new kind of systems, ecosystems that you are looking at?
Mr. Ashwani was spot on in all of what he said.
Keep close.
I will keep it closer.
Yes.
Mr. Ashwani was spot on in all what he have said. The greatest challenge is not the bricks and mortar. I'm not going to say it's easy to create. It's not, and it needs significant alignment for you to be able to create optionality of trade. So you definitely need alternative routes. We have seen it firsthand during the COVID-19. We have seen it firsthand during the crisis around us, whether it's in the Red Sea, whether it's the Suez Canal blockage. So you need optionality, but you need affordable optionality as well. That ensures that cargo and commodity in specific, essential commodities, can flow to the end destination at a price point that is needed. So during COVID and post-COVID, we've seen how the ocean freight rate and the logistic cost have soared significantly, and it created a challenge. So one, you need optionality. We are all in agreement, but you need affordable optionality to connect to connect our economies. When it comes to technology, and this is where I think we need to spend more time. This is, it's not the glamorous part. It is the hard part, but it's the most effective part. And if we create a common language for customs, for the port, for the shipping line, for us to be able to effectively communicate and for the data to flow, we will reduce cost of doing business. We've done it in the UAE. We've invested in Dubai trade. We've reduced cost of supply chain significantly in 2005. We increased port capacity by investing in technology back in the day. So the answer is really technology and other things. I'm not saying other things shouldn't be done. No, but I'm saying technology is really the answer for us to be able to create a much more resilient supply chain.
Thank you. That's very important. Affordable is the key word there, and that's very important that everybody is doing. Now I'll have to go to my right. And Noa Schusterman, is it what for all these, it is very important, and you are a policy wonk like me, and of course advising the governments and others. So what kind of policies would you like to recommend, let's say, for both the Imec to seamlessly proceed further and for the I2U2 to take it to the next level?
Thank you. So let me just start by saying that it's an honor to be here with everyone. distinguished panelists. Look, I think Israel has really adopted Imec and I2U2 as strategic initiatives because it means partnerships with the UAE, with India, obviously with the US, which are alliances that we respect and cherish. Imec is not only about trade. It's much more. It's energy flow, which we discussed shortly, but it's renewable energy, which is highly needed, especially as we see AI developing and much more energy resources are needed. Also in Israel, looking forward. It's about the supply chain, which has proved itself so detrimental during COVID, and also now during the war. So the Suez Canal, as an example of really seeing what is needed and what are the obstacles once there are geopolitical crises. So for the government of Israel, really putting a focal point on these partnerships and these initiatives. And obviously, look, we try to do our best when it comes to the geopolitics, but we also have to deal with, our own neighborhood. But I think now we're at a new period, and really the situation has calmed down, and we need to be looking forward. And, things have shifted also conceptually when speaking about Imec. So at the beginning, it was discussed really as a corridor. Now, when you talk to people who are invested in Imec, it's no longer seen as sort of a one-way or even a two-way corridor stemming from India to Europe, but actually sort of as a network of countries that could be connected through this flow of trade and energy and digital infrastructure. And I think putting the focal point on this and seeing where else can we bring more stability and prosperity, that should be really what's shaping the policies forward.
Good. Thank you. I'll come back to you later. Now, Vikram, you are into this agribusiness and the chemicals all over. So how do you see that this Imec and I2U2 can reshape the agribusiness?
Thank you very much. I think it's very, very important to understand a few statistics. First of all, the population in this region is going to double in the next 15 or 20 years. Today, this region imports about $150 billion worth of food. Now, if you just look at that, that's going to go to $300 billion worth of food. There is a lot of value addition here, and they export also $50 billion. But the net import for the people living here is going to go up. India can produce a lot more food. India has 219 million hectares of land. And looking at the rest of Asia, we are a country that has maximum potential. This region imports a lot of its food from very, very far away, which we can continue to do. But there is no harm if the infrastructure and if the corridors become better, then this region and India can really, really feed itself. That's the main contributor. The other is general trade. Chemicals. We can do a lot more with chemical manufacturing in this region because a lot of the base raw materials come here. So a lot of it is shipped to faraway countries and then produced and then re-exported. So those are the two great opportunities that I see. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, the food security has always been very important for our friends from the Gulf. And at one time when I was handling in Ministry of External Affairs in 2007-8, we saw that every time we had a Gulf delegation, they said, please give us big farms here and farm it for us. And give you. Now, in India, the big farming is very difficult to get. But at the same time, what we can do together is in third countries. For example, India and UAE working in Ethiopia. Our Prime Minister is going tomorrow. In fact, I had sent a business delegation from India to Ethiopia last year, and they found a lot of land there, and this is very much available. So wherever there's land available, all of us together with technology, with manpower, with expertise, with finance, can work for their own benefit. And they can be plugged in that indirectly, because for you also, Africa is as important as it is for us. So now I would like to go to Mr. Ramakrishnan, who is really an expert on many, many things and would like to tell us about that. How can IMEC position the UAE as a logistics nerve center, which it, to a great extent for Indian companies, it already is?
So thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Ashwani for really putting this through in the UAE, in Dubai. You know, let me sort of share some thoughts which I sort of put down. IMEC, in my opinion, can certainly propel UAE from a very regional hub to a European and an Asian hub to enhance logistics and supply chain, as the UAE is the midpoint and is placed very, very strategically. Perhaps I think UAE could be one of the only country in the world where we could do business in office hours with the furthermost on the east and also the furthermost on the west. So this is one of the greatest advantage that we have in this part of the world. And secondly, what UAE has been able to do in the last 50 odd years to create a brand, create an organization like the DP World, which is one of the proud possessions of this country. They have this Emirates Airlines, which they have created. All of this helps them to become a terrific hub. And all this is going to add, and it is continuing to propel them into one of the most leading supply chain and a transshipment hub, not only for West Asia, but also for Europe. Now, the second point that I wanted to sort of talk about is UAE's two ports, which is Jebel Ali and Khalifa. These two ports are handling record volumes and obviously can be the entry point for IMEC cargo from India. Jebel Ali can be the fulcrum of growth for the India to Europe trade. We've been hearing since morning, when we've been reading a lot about how cost can come down by 40% and time can be cut down by 30% or vice versa. I'm not sure which one that we talk about. But I have a slight contrarian view. I think it's a great thinking to have a corridor like the IMEC that's today being proposed. It's being talked about. A lot is being done. But I think from whatever I have seen, this corridor is working efficiently from India, that is the west coast of India, to Jebel Ali and to a lesser extent to Khalifa in Abu Dhabi. It hasn't gone really beyond these two areas, largely because there are numerous challenges. We all know that we have the Red Sea conflict that's on, Houthis are every time and again bombing ships and making it very unsafe for the ships to travel. You have the challenge that's going on between Israel, which has recently perhaps come to a halt, but I think that's been again troubling all of these things. So my biggest thinking that I've been pondering is that this route, IMEC, as we all talk about, or I2U2 along with it, for the digital connect, could only be a potentially an alternative. It cannot be a replacement for the traditional route. Again, I say this largely because we've been hearing about most of the liner companies ordering ships of 20 and 24,000 TEUs. Here you're talking about a situation, whether you pick up cargo through this IMEC corridor from Nhava Sheva, or for that matter from Mundra, bring it on a small ship. The ships that is trading in these two areas are nothing more than 4,000 to 5,000 containers. And you bring it over here, you drop it in Jebel Ali, there's going to be a THC to handle those boxes. And there's also going to be a cost to re-handle those boxes into the rail or whatever services. Etihad Rail will have to carry it up to a certain point. Then you have the custom challenges that is there. I think all these are being discussed, but I think this needs some time before it is reached a conclusion. Then again, when you reach, whether it's Haifa or any of the other ports in the Mediterranean, there's also another shorter haul of transshipment that is needed. And there again, those ships are not going to be the 20,000 or so. It's all going to be 1,000 and 2,000 TEU ships. Now, if you start adding, I mean, we all realize that today everybody is talking about efficiency, speed, supply chain, better management, and all of that. But if you're going to have a situation where this corridor is going to incrementally add on cost on cost on cost. How commercially it is going to be feasible and viable is something which I have always been thinking about. But having said that, it's good to have an alternative. At least we may never have a situation like what's today happening in the Red Sea, or when the Evergreen ship got stuck in the Suez and the whole global trade came to a halt. These things probably can be challenging. For example, the oil for the Gulf, especially, if you have something going on in the Shuttle Arab, you are having big trouble to take anything and everything out of this place. So an alternative with like Imec is good, but it can certainly not replace the traditional routes. This is my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a worth understanding and analyzing. The challenges are always there. But at the same time, as we know that 2 years ago, or I think 1.5 years ago, in the Suez, that one ship got stuck, and that had virtually disturbed the whole chain. And secondly, these Houthi attacks in the Red Sea have once again brought tremendous stress on the maritime navigation and commerce. So therefore, alternates are always important, because they not only serve a purpose of transporting from A to point B, and as Noah mentioned, they also have a strategic connotation as well. So this is why it's extremely important, of course, to take into account, and you rightly mentioned about security. But in one of the conferences, somebody said the security is easier today to provide, provided the countries which are nodal links are on the same page, because then they can jointly secure the place. Because it's in everybody's interest that the things work and function smoothly. Now we have, 13 minutes, but now let me just go back to Ashwani ji and to tell us exactly what is your experience or challenges like you faced while working in different parts, and you have managing ports in different countries now, new ones also you are getting, very strategic for us, including Haifa. So if you could throw some light on that, because that's one element of the West Asia and connect to the Imec.
Thank you. I think today, internationally, we have just 4 ports, not like DB, right? We have one in Tanzania, one in Haifa, one in Australia, and one we just came up with Chile, Colombo, focusing on the transshipment. I would say that, of course, in the island, Noa and Haifa, both as a port of origin and port of asylum destination, or individual destination, play a very important role. And that also answers the question of bringing efficiency and effectiveness that Shroff might be last time. Today we are only talking about last time, but I think the competitiveness also lies in the source now. And obviously, we heard that 3,900 kilometers of seaboard will be replaced by, or should be replaced by, or planned to be replaced by 2,000 kilometers of rail line. Obviously, this is 40% reduction. But on the other side, when we replace sea by high-speed rail, we have to be careful about the cost. So the question is, what would be the return on business to shift from conversion 2,900 to 2,000? And what is the return? The return will not come only by the trade, the return will come as an ecosystem, which is, of course, including a very important initiative, which is the energy transition. So then, we have the ports like Haifa. I think what's very much important, in addition to the political alignment, is how the country's authorities and the local partner and all the stakeholders work in a collaborative way. And this collaboration should have a common goal of achieving the business objective, but more than that, contributing to nation society, region society, and let me say across region society. And then, we have a very good example of Haifa. We work hand in hand with Israel as a part of strategic alignment. But in addition to that, with the local authorities, with all the stakeholders, we make sure that we are contributing to the community, but we are also contributing to the business objectives. Same is the case in Australia, where we just took over. Same is the case in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Same is the case in Ceylon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we are left with about 9 minutes, so I'll request all 4 panelists to give their last thoughts. And if they can do it in 1 minute each, then we can leave some 5 minutes to the audience for asking questions. Noa, may I start with you?
Yes, of course. So I want to dovetail on things that were said here. Yes, there are many obstacles to IMEC. I think we need to all be very frank with ourselves, and there's a lot of infrastructure that is now missing for this to be really a trade corridor. But it's also worth saying, at the moment, trade is already happening between India to Europe through the Middle East by trucks. And it's slowly building up and it's building capacity. And I think it's going to be very interesting to follow through and to see exactly how much can we expand this without having to make the infrastructure investments that are needed in order to create trains. Another comment, it's not about transit, it's about being part of the value chain. And each one of the countries that is involved doesn't want to be just a transit point or even a port. It wants to actually gain something strategic through IMEC, whether it is being the logistics hubs at the UAE or having data centers maybe in Jordan and then, amplifying the economy. It's utilizing Israeli technology within the corridor for cybersecurity, for management systems, applications, etc. So each one of the countries involved, and obviously Europe is really interested in renewable energy. So each one of the countries involved needs to get something that is much more than actually, building some sort of an infrastructure inside its territory. Thank you.
Mr. Hashmi.
Thank you, sir. From a UAE standpoint, we already have a mature trade corridor between us and India, especially the eastern part. You have Jebel Ali in Dubai, Mina Khalifa in Abu Dhabi. You have Nava Shiva and Mundra. This trade corridor is responsible for around $65 billion worth of trade, excluding the oil and petrochemicals. We're expecting this year to reach $75 billion, so it's extremely, extremely sizable. This makes the UAE potentially the third or the second largest destination for made in India product. We in DP World believe in this relationship significantly. We have launched the Bharat Mart project, a market platform to accelerate the export of Indian commodities to the world. The Miatri virtual corridor program is truly an excellent one. It will definitely harmonize the flow of data between the two countries. And again, we have seen in the past, similar situation where critical maritime nodes gets blocked, whether it's the Panama or the Suez Canal or the Red Sea, and things come back to normalization at some point in time. Not to say that we don't need the optionality, we definitely need them. Nevertheless, things will definitely go back to normal. Flow of cargo will take place, and the UAE and India is geared for it.
Thank you. Vikram?
So last time I talked about markets, this time I'm going to talk about technology coming out of the IMEC. I think from Israel, the world and India could learn about agro technologies, food processing, how to grow crops in arid region. And then from the UAE, very, very specifically, handling perishable cargo, because that all comes from very, very far, Latin America, Brazil and other parts. So these knowledge transfers would help the whole corridor, build capability across, and help supply chains and help the areas integrate further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I shared a contrarian view, but I'm certainly an optimist, and I believe that the Imec corridor will certainly come into existence. It may be only a question of time, but certainly we do look forward to it. But I think I want to also add there are a few, in my opinion, few reforms that may be perhaps needed. One is a green channel has to be put on fast track for CEPA eligible non-oil goods. We heard from the Council this morning that we've crossed the 100 billion, out of which $60 billion of business is oil and gems. I think the new target that's been set out by the UAE government and the government of India is to do non-oil and non-gem business to the extent of 100 billion. And that's the goal for the next 5 years. And if we have to achieve that, obviously a very clear-cut green channel with no, let's say, a stoppage anyway is extremely important. The goods must move straight from the ship to the second leg by rail or other modes. There should be no dwell time whatsoever. The rail connectivity that we're talking about from Jebel Ali or Khalifa Port must be seamless, and the customers from India must be able to transact using one document. Amongst many other things, to develop an integrated multimodal transport, enhance market access, regulatory and policy reforms, harmonize customs and trade procedures, and promote regulatory methods. I think the opportunity is phenomenal. There's a lot of business that is likely to happen. And today, as we heard, as we've been reading, we have this Bharat Mart that has now been in existence in Jebel Ali, which is likely to come into operations towards the end of next year or the middle of next year. This is obviously going to assist a number of SMEs from India who may be able to come in, store their goods here, and start looking at markets like Africa or maybe even other GCC markets, etc. So a lot is being done in the UAE to promote trade between India and UAE and vice versa. But I think a lot more still needs to be done with respect to having this corridor rightfully in existence and operating profitably. I think I'm using this word profitable. It has to be a commercially workable venture for the SMEs or any of the cargo-related interests. And that's going to be the fundamental thing that we have to look at. How do we do that? When you have smaller ships, when you have more number of handling, more number of modes of transport, and that's something which we need to very seriously sit down and start addressing. This is my limited comment as far as the Imec and the I2U2 and the future prospect is concerned.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Those are very good practical suggestions, and I'm quite sure the India CEPA Council will look at it. As far as the harmonization is concerned, I must tell you on the record that already between India and the UAE, there are institutional mechanisms to harmonize within the context of CEPA, which have been functioning and meeting and trying to address several of those issues that you have mentioned. So it'll be unfair not to allow time for asking questions. So please, if there are any questions, feel free to ask. Can we have some mic there? Anybody? Yeah, there.
Brave volunteer.
Good afternoon. My name is Sumit Sinha. I am resident representative of Export Import Bank of India, Dubai. First of all, thank you for that beautiful session and coming up with different ideas on Imec and what the challenges and the projects. So my point of view is, yes, there is a lot of collaboration which is required amongst the countries to see the success coming out of Imec. I have two things in my mind which I would like to ask you the panel members. We talk about trade improving between India, UAE, Middle Eastern countries and going to Europe. How do you see that this virtual trade corridor and the supply chain to improve the manufacturing activities in this market? Traditionally, because this always has been a trading hub or trade hub. Do you see this trade improving the manufacturing activities which can help these economies perspective, with the improvement of manufacturing, we see opportunities for Indian companies also to come and set up their manufacturing in this geography, especially Middle East or in the East Asia, to have a diversified move and given the challenges coming from the US and from
Thank you, Sumit. Good question. Noah, would you like to take and then?
Yeah, so the quick 2 points. I think raw materials coming from India into Europe through this corridor and having the processing done in the Middle East can give a lot of opportunity. Also, I'm specifically thinking of Jordan as a country that has pretty high unemployment at the moment and could actually be very useful in building new plants and new factories. So we can think of maybe those type of supply chains that increase stability and profitability in the region. And also, it's also trade from west to east. So machinery that is manufactured in Europe and can be brought into India and then even further east, that can also be very profitable for India using that sort of machinery that is now, it's more difficult to then have it imported into India.
Would you like to add any other comments?
I think, first of all, labor here is imported. So I'll take a slightly contrarian view. Labor here is imported and it's well utilized. Labor is available in India, available in Jordan, and also will be available at the right time in African countries. So there'll always be an arbitrage and an opportunity to do some value addition here. Now it depends on which sector and how much the value addition is, because the labor price will always be slightly higher skilled because only the best will travel out. And second, it'll be slightly more expensive. Definitely this region, UAE, will have a manufacturing uptake. Definitely, because also the ease of doing business is a very important aspect that people take for granted, which is an absolute luxury for a person like myself who operates in 140 countries, that your country is the best country to live and manufacture or operate in. So thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Already time is up there showing us, and let us give a round of applause to all our esteemed panelists for an excellent discussion. Thank you so much.